You are sequencing a standard strain of avian influenza in a civilian biosafety level 3 laboratory, a routine task you have performed hundreds of times over your 10-year career as a lead virologist. A tactical team in full biological hazard gear breaches your lab's airlock, bypassing every decontamination protocol. A senior intelligence officer steps forward and places a cryogenic lockbox directly onto your workstation, followed by a tablet displaying satellite footage of an undocumented research outpost in the Siberian tundra. The outpost is dead. The officer informs you that an unearthed pathogen with an unprecedented replication cycle and a 100% mortality rate has wiped out the 72 personnel in under 14 hours. The government's containment strategy is a thermobaric strike to incinerate the facility and everyone inside, erasing the pathogen, but also destroying any biological data required to combat it when the permafrost inevitably yields another sample. The officer offers you an ultimatum. Accept sole custody of the extracted sample to engineer a countermeasure in absolute isolation, or refuse, condemning the victims to ash and leaving the world defenseless against a future outbreak. You recognize the mathematical certainty of a global extinction event if this pathogen is left unstudied. You nod, authorizing the transfer. Within 20 minutes, you are stripped of your civilian identity, boarded onto an unmarked transport plane, and lowered into a subterranean black site beneath a classified military installation. You are now the only scientist allowed to see the world's deadliest virus. The protocols governing your existence are absolute and unforgiving. You operate in a pressurized, hermetically sealed vault where even a microscopic failure in the air filtration systems will trigger an automated incineration protocol, turning the entire lab and you into carbon within 60 seconds. The Department of Defense determined that the pathogen, designated Chimera 9, is too volatile to entrust to a team. More researchers mean more points of failure, more psychological variables, and an exponentially higher risk of espionage. You are the single point of failure, the sole intellect standing between a microscopic entity and the end of mammalian life on Earth. Every morning, you review the automated diagnostics, dictate your encrypted logs to a military oversight committee you never see, and step into the heavy, positive pressure suit that tethers you to life support. Your first strategic decision is how to interface with Chimera 9. You quickly realize that standard robotic manipulators lack the tactile precision required for the delicate gene splicing maneuvers needed to dissect the virus's protein shell. You petition the Oversight Committee to bypass the remote robotics and use direct glove box manipulation, arguing that the time saved is worth the increased risk of a physical breach. They approve the request. You trade a layer of physical safety for the velocity of discovery, a calculation that becomes the foundation of your new reality. Chimera 9 defies every established biological model. It possesses an R0 of 32 and an incubation period so aggressive it weaponizes the host's immune system into a fatal cytokine storm before symptoms even fully manifest. Your initial strategy is to map its entire genome using high-throughput sequencers, searching for a conserved region that does not mutate. However, after 3 months of grueling analysis, you discover a horrifying quantitative truth. The virus adapts its mutation rate in response to the enzymatic tools you use to sequence it. It is entirely reactive. You face your first major tactical dilemma. If you report this adaptive trait to the Oversight Committee, military intelligence will immediately recognize its potential as an untraceable, self-optimizing bioweapon. They will redirect your funding away from a vaccine and demand you isolate the adaptive mechanism for their own offensive applications. To prevent the virus from becoming a tool of global dominance, you make the conscious choice to falsify your data. You alter the sequencing logs, presenting a fabricated mathematical model that portrays the virus's mutation rate as highly unstable and prone to rapid degradation outside of specialized deep freeze conditions. You lie to the most powerful military apparatus on the planet, securing your mandate to focus strictly on neutralization while risking a treason charge that would guarantee your execution. Your manipulation of the data forces you into a complex, ongoing game of bureaucratic chess. To maintain the illusion of compliance, you must periodically feed the committee small, controlled breakthroughs. Just enough progress to ensure your continued funding and survival, but never enough to give them an actionable weapon. You weaponize their lack of expertise against them. When they demand a delivery vector analysis, you deliberately introduce a mathematical flaw into the aerosolization models, proving that Chimera 9 cannot survive the sheer forces of a ballistic deployment. You construct a massive, intricate architecture of scientific deception, balancing the genuine, desperate search for a vaccine with the necessity of keeping the virus practically useless to the generals who fund you. You funnel millions of dollars in black budget resources toward experimental mRNA platforms, hiding the expenditures in the complex line items of heavy water containment upgrades and proprietary chemical synthesis. You become a master of obfuscation, a lone operative fighting a two-front war against an apocalyptic pathogen and the military-industrial complex meant to contain it. 7 years pass in the sterile, humming silence of the bunker. The crushing isolation and the relentless psychological weight of your responsibility fundamentally alter your calculus of risk. You have not felt the sun or breathed unscrubbed air in nearly 3,000 days. Your entire universe is the glow of the electron microscope and the sealed titanium vials containing the death of the world. Through painstaking, agonizing trial and error, you finally manage to synthesize a viable neutralizing agent, a designer phage capable of breaking Chimera 9's adaptive loop and rendering it inert. But this breakthrough comes with a severe complication. The phage must be cultivated using a live, unmutated baseline sample of the virus. During the critical synthesis phase, a sudden spike in the facility's geothermal power grid causes a microsecond fluctuation in the containment pressure sensors. The automated alarms blare, flashing red across the pristine white walls. The failsafe protocol initiates a 3-minute countdown to total incineration.
You stare at the primary glove box. The pressure differential gauge shows a minute anomaly, a fraction of a millibar drop. Protocol dictates that you evacuate to the inner airlock and allow the incineration to cleanse the vault, destroying Chimera 9, but also eradicating the only existing batch of the neutralizing phage you just spent 7 years developing. Starting over is not an option. The psychological and physical toll of another decade in the dark would break you, and the Oversight Committee's patience is already dangerously thin. You rely on your intimate, accumulated knowledge of the facility's quirks, calculating that the pressure drop is a mechanical artifact of the power spike, not a physical breach of the containment seals. With the countdown at 40 seconds, you manually override the facility's mainframe, locking out the automated incineration protocol. You gamble your life, the integrity of the black site, and potentially the survival of the human race on a gut instinct and a read of a digital gauge. The alarms silence. The air filtration system cycles normally. You run immediate chemical swab tests on the exterior of the glove box.
The results are negative. You have saved the cure, but the sheer arrogance of your decision terrifies you. You have bypassed the final safety measure, proving that the ultimate vulnerability in the containment system is your own human judgment.
The consequences of your long-term deception are now converging on your isolated world. The neutralizing phage works flawlessly in simulated cell cultures. You possess a functional, scalable vaccine for Chimera 9. However, the Military Oversight Committee has recently undergone a change in leadership. A newly appointed director, highly aggressive and suspicious of your prolonged timeline and constant technical delays, issues a direct mandate. You must hand over all physical samples of the virus and your research logs to an external weaponization team within 48 hours. They no longer care about a vaccine. They intend to use the virus as an ultimate deterrent. you are trapped by the very architecture of lies you built to protect the world. If you hand over the vaccine, the military will feel secure enough to deploy the virus, knowing they hold the shield. If you destroy the virus and the vaccine to prevent its weaponization, the committee will undoubtedly uncover your falsified data, realize you committed treason, and execute you, leaving nothing to stop a future natural emergence of the pathogen. You sit at your workstation, the hum of the air scrubbers vibrating through your suit. You hold the master vial of Chimera 9 in your left hand and the synthesized cure in your right. You have spent years fighting to understand this organism, sacrificing your freedom and your integrity to keep it out of the wrong hands. Now, you realize the bitter truth of your isolation. Your ultimate responsibility was never just about finding a cure. You must now formulate a strategy to weaponize your own research against the military that controls you.
Ensuring that the cure remains a secret and the virus remains a terrifying, unusable myth. The clock is ticking down to the mandated handover, and every calculation you make from this moment forward must be perfect.